Hey guys, welcome to the Veganuary vlog. Today I'm going to talk a little bit. Yesterday I talked about fueling yourself with clean fuel, free of obstructions, in order to optimize your performance, your health and your fitness. And so I'm going to go into that a little bit more. Fueling yourself for performance and fitness, and what that means, what that looks like. And so just another little kind of personal story. This morning I got up fairly early and went for a bike ride. I got a bike for Christmas. I haven't ridden a bike in probably about 18 months, and I was able to ride for 25 kilometers and not be fatigued at the end. Granted, most of the terrain was fairly flat. There wasn't a huge amount of hill work in it, but I felt great and felt perfect at the end. Certainly didn't need to lie down and have a sleep, and I'm not worried about my legs being sore tomorrow or anything like that. And so the reason I can do that sort of thing is because of the sort of fuel I put into my body and the attention I pay to keeping my body as clean as it can be. And so that's like your detoxification sorts of processes that you want to be supporting as well. You know, our world's really toxic these days. We're exposed to a lot of different chemicals and substances and things that our bodies naturally don't really know what to do with. And so it is important that you support that detoxification process on a regular basis, ideally daily, so that your body can be functioning as cleanly as it possibly can be. And so one of the ways I do that, which I mentioned briefly in one of the last videos, was I follow an intermittent fasting schedule. And so what that means is I squash my feeding window into a shorter time frame. And so instead of waking up and eating from 6 a.m. until you nearly are about to go to bed at night at 8 p.m. at night or something, I tend to eat between, say, at the earliest 10 o'clock in the morning, and typically I try and finish my dinner by 6 p.m. at the latest, so no more than an 8-hour window. I ideally want it less than 6 hours, but that's not always achievable because of lifestyle and schedules and things like that. But yeah, certainly the smaller my window, the better I feel. And there's lots of reasons for that on a sort of biochemical level. So the longer fasting period, so when you're not eating, your body's in a fasting mode, as long as you're not putting other stuff in there. So in my resting window, when I'm not eating, I drink water. Occasionally I'll have a sort of a turmeric latte or something at night, but most of the time I try and don't have any calories at all during that time frame. And so that allows my body time to rest, recuperate, detoxify, clean house, do all of those other tasks that if you're constantly putting food into your system, it's not getting time to do, and it hasn't got enough energy to do, because you're using up to 80% of your body's energy all the time just to digest your food. And so by shortening your eating window, expanding the fasting window, you're going to be regularly allowing more detoxification processes to naturally occur. So that's one of the things I do. And there's huge benefits from intermittent fasting for lots of other reasons as well. It promotes autophagy, which is like a process that basically mops up damaged cells in the body, so you're going to be less prone to cancer. It's amazing at balancing hormones. So if you're going through anything like menopause, or you're premenopausal, or you've had kids and you're struggling with your hormones sort of coming back into balance, you know, you've nursed for a number of years, and your hormones are all a bit out of whack, or even, you know, guys as well often can be out of balance with their hormones, testosterone, and a lot of women are also estrogen dominant these days. So if any of those things apply to you, I would just suggest maybe looking into intermittent fasting and see whether that's a good fit for you. For me, it's an awesome fit because it just suits my lifestyle so well. I've already gone into that, how our mornings are really hectic. I don't like to eat during that time anyway, so I just prep my food and I eat it later. And I don't like to eat late at night either, because you want to have finished your eating a number of hours before you go to bed and go to sleep, because otherwise, instead of your sleep being rest and recuperation time, you're still digesting your food, so your body's still got all of these tasks that it's taking care of, and so your sleep's not going to be as restorative either. And so then you just end up chronically sleep deprived, which obviously, especially as a parent, you want to avoid as much as possible. But anyone, everyone knows the detrimental effects on their bodies and their minds from sleep deprivation. You're generally not a happy person when you haven't had enough sleep, or enough good quality sleep. So yeah, that's one of the things I do, and that really helps the detoxification, which then helps my body be free of obstructions, and so I can perform better. So I can do things like go for a bike ride when I haven't ridden a bike for 18 months, and my body's able to do that. It's clean, it's energized because of the sort of food, the fuel that I'm putting into it, and I love doing some sort of movement every day. We're a species that's designed to be moving every day, and our lifestyles are so sedentary these days. Kids are being raised on tablets, and in schools they're sitting in front of computers, and then they come home and they're on Game Boys, and that doesn't really apply to our particular family situation, but that's probably the norm in a lot of areas. And then as adults as well, we're either sitting in a car, or we're on a mobile phone, or we're sitting in front of a computer. Everything's really contracted and hunched over, and there's none of this opening and heart opening and movement in your daily life. And everything's also so busy and jam-packed these days that often it's not prioritized either. And so that's something I'd really encourage you to do, is to try and work out how you can fit some movement into your daily life every day. Make it something that it becomes a habit, and it's easier for it to become a habit if it's something that you incorporate every day, rather than just trying to fit it in once or twice or 3 times a week. You're more likely to not do it when the time comes around, because it's not something that you're habitually engaging in every day. And when you start moving your body every day, you realize how beneficial it is. Mentally, emotionally, physically, you're going to feel so much better. And so I guess another thing I could cover, just going on from that, would be fat loss. So that's probably a big concern for a lot of people too. Particularly women that have had kids. It's almost expected that you'll blow out after you've had kids, and that doesn't have to be the case. I've had 3 children, and my weight and body condition now is actually probably more optimal than it was before I had kids. My weight's very similar, but I've got more skeletal muscle and I'm carrying less body fat. So and that's because I prioritize movement every day, but it also has to do with the intermittent fasting schedule as well. Because after I had the kids, my hormones probably all were a little bit out of whack. I had a tendency to hold on to abdominal fat, and even though I was exercising, I didn't really understand the mechanics of that. So I learnt more about that, and I learnt more about intermittent fasting. And so by starting the intermittent fasting schedule and starting to do my exercise in the mornings when my body's in a fasted state, you're more likely to utilize the fat stores by doing that. Once your muscle glycogen is depleted, you go directly into the fat stores. And so by doing that, by following an intermittent fasting schedule and exercising in the mornings, you're going to oxidize more body fat. But the other key component of that is to make sure that your fat burning exercise is kept within a fat burning window. And so by that I mean your heart rate isn't overstressed. So if you're stressing your body too much, your heart rate is too fast, and you're going into an anaerobic state. And so then you're not going to be oxidizing your fat. You're not going to be burning it up. You're just stressing your body. So that's another thing that you may want to look into if fat loss is one of your goals or one of your challenges. And certainly holding on to body fat is really inflammatory. It puts you at risk of things like type 2 diabetes, cancer, arthritis, a lot of the lifestyle, cardiac disease, a lot of the lifestyle and sort of degenerative diseases that we see these days. So it is important, and therefore it's one of the things that I've sort of tried to prioritize particularly probably more so since having kids, because I want them to get the right kinds of messages with regards to health and fitness and wellness, and without it being an obsession. You know, we incorporate it into our days as something that we naturally enjoy and want to be doing, and that can sometimes just be we go to the beach for half a day with the kids, and part of that time will be spent surfing or on the SUP, or climbing over rocks, or just incorporating some sort of activity into our movement while also having really wonderful family time too. So I've probably covered a few topics in that one thing, but they all sort of connected together, so I thought that would be a nice little way to bring that all into one video. Hopefully you enjoyed it and got something out of it that's applicable for you, and I'll see you tomorrow with another topic to talk about. Bye!